What's up, money lovers? Welcome back. Very important video today. We got a lot to discuss: the good, the bad, and the ugly around Rivian's earnings report, and some recent breaking news that is going to affect the entire electric and automotive industry. So stick around to the end. You definitely don't want to miss this one. I want to take a quick look at the Rivian Q4 2021 shareholder letter and quarterly report and point out some issues that I see. All right, so first of all, the key highlights page. They've got a total planned annual capacity between their two plants at 600,000 vehicles. Now, real quick, let's just compare that with Tesla's vehicles delivered. Tesla's been a company since 2003. They didn't launch the Model S until 2012. Guess how many years it took Tesla to sell 600,000 vehicles in 1 year operating out of two factories? Take a second and pick a year. It wasn't until 2021, 10 years after the launch of the Model S, that Tesla sold over 600,000 cars. They sold 936,000 in 2021. They couldn't even do, in 2020, they only sold 499K. So Rivian must have a magical plant that they're operating over there to think that they're going to be able to sell 600,000 cars anytime soon. Now, one of either two things is true here. Either Tesla is just the worst company ever and very bad at volume production, and it just takes them more than anyone else, or option two, Elon Musk was right, and when he said that making a prototype is easy, production is hard. Volume production is what bankrupts companies. Literally took Tesla 10 years to get to the point where they were selling over 600,000 vehicles. And for the first 4 of those years, they were only selling one vehicle, the Model S, okay? The X didn't even come around until 2016 sales. So this is important too because Rivian in 2021 is already producing 3 of their vehicles, the R1T, R1S, and EDV. It's hard enough to ramp production on one vehicle at a time, let alone 3. They say our path to EV leadership won't be easy. That's definitely true. In the immediate term, we are not immune to the supply chain issues that have challenged the entire industry. Now, just keep account to yourself of how many times they mentioned constraints in this letter, and it does not paint a very pretty picture for the future here. When if they're already dealing with constraints, what's going to happen with those supply constraints for the needed battery parts when you've got 30 other car companies also competing for those supplies? Tesla's already got their supply chain sorted out for the next couple of years, so they don't have to worry about that problem. In 2021, they produced 1,015 and delivered 920 vehicles for the full year 2021, basically getting about $1 billion of their market cap for every 10 vehicles that they delivered. Despite the quarter getting off to a slow start and persistent supply chain constraints, there it is again. They must say it more than 20 times in the entire report. And in 2022, the first half, they've experienced several headwinds, and again, these are not going to get any better. A 10-day shutdown to fine-tune our production lines, significant supply chain limitations, also known as constraints, COVID, severe winter weather in Illinois, and like the rest of the industry, we anticipate supply chain challenges, another way to say supply chain constraints, to persist throughout 2022. Now look, I'm really rooting for Rivian here. I want all the electric vehicle companies to succeed, at least the ones that tell the truth and are honest about who's really leading the industry. I want them all to succeed, but you just have to look at the reality of the situation here. There it is again, supplier constraints, expanding product offerings. God help us, they're going to have a hard enough time selling those 3 original products. I really think it would be beneficial for them to focus on one vehicle for the first couple of years, but add on to that the starting price range of $67,500 to $83,000, which is more than double the starting price of a Tesla Model 3 for vehicles that do not have performance that is on par. Tesla's range is much higher, and when you tack on the reality of Rivian's range has not exactly lived up to expectations. You can look it up. A lot of people are very unhappy that they are getting much less range than they were told they would. So far, Rivian's plan to compete with Tesla is to sell a vehicle that's double the price and let's just say half the performance, if that. And Rivian does have that strong partnership with Amazon. That's probably the one thing they have going for them, but is it enough to save them from supply chain constraints? No, it is not. The ramp of production has largely been gated by a number of supplier constraints. Folks, these supply chain constraints are only going to get worse now. Like, what's the plan here? Now, they do have a lot of pre-orders, over 83,000 pre-orders in the US and Canada, but again, the pre-orders are great, so there is interest there, but at what point are they actually going to be able to build and ship out 83,000 of these cars? Again, if it's anything like Tesla's ramp up, Tesla wasn't selling 83,000 cars until 6 years after the Model S was launched. Not to mention, Tesla was around almost another 10 years before the Model S launched, since around 2003. This did not happen overnight. I'm going to go into the balance sheet because there's obviously nothing good to see here, and there probably won't be for many, many years to come. Tesla was not a profitable company until very recently. Speaking of Tesla, let's see what they're up to these days. Rule change now allows deliveries of self-driving vehicles without steering wheels or pedals. U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, has officially changed a long-standing rule that is now creating a path for automakers to deliver self-driving vehicles without steering wheels or pedals. This is very big news that could impact Tesla's compact car, the rumored $25,000 car, which on Tesla's last earnings report made no mention of, where they said that they weren't working on it. But it does seem to be the widespread consensus that they are. They're just not being very open about it. However, maybe it was because they were waiting for this rule change to come about, which obviously would impact that car. So it opens up the possibility that the $25K car would be a full-on autonomous robo-taxi that wouldn't need a steering wheel or a human driver. We've got more and more driverless transport services being approved on U.S. roads. We've got Waymo in Arizona and California, Cruise in California, and several companies, including GM and obviously Tesla, have made clear that they intend to produce vehicles without steering wheels, and now they're going to be able to do it in the US. It is pretty crazy to think 20 years from now where we're going to be, because 20 years from now, we're going to look back and think that it was ludicrous to be driving our own cars with a steering wheel. In 2018, GM unveiled a Bolt EV and it burst into flames. Without a steering wheel, with the hope to deploy them with Cruise automation technology. Instead, the car went on to spontaneously combust. Just kidding, but not actually though. Tesla is tripling your Model Y delivery time if you don't add on the $12,000 FSD option, or put in other words, Tesla is actually prioritizing the vehicles that are coming with the FSD option for the additional $12,000 to give you the full self-driving capabilities. And this makes a lot of sense. So basically, some people have reported their deliveries, if they're ordering without FSD, won't come until September. But if you do order the FSD package, you can get these Model 3 and Ys as early as April and May. And this makes a lot of sense because Tesla's obviously going to prioritize those higher profit margin vehicles, especially right now while they're ramping up, Gigafactory Berlin, Gigafactory Texas. These things are obviously going to cost the company money until they are ready to go and ramped up and pumping out cars. So in the meantime, they're probably going to use these prioritized FSD cars with the extra profit margin to help kind of offset some of those costs having to deal with Berlin and Texas. And we just got some news also that Gigafactory Texas should be ready to go by next month. So we are seeing some delays, but they're getting closer and closer. But in the meantime, this is a very good move for Tesla. And it should come as no surprise here, but when you charge people $7 for a gallon of gas, they're going to be more likely to go buy an electric vehicle. Tesla's order rate is surging in the US as gas prices are turning people toward electric cars. This makes perfect sense, and unfortunately, it won't make a difference for Tesla's bottom line because they're already supply constrained, not demand constrained. Their supply lines are great, but they are getting a lot more orders for cars than they're able to meet. So it's not going to affect their bottom line here. They're going to sell the same amount of cars, but it is just a good sign, good to see people moving. The trend is obviously going to move more and more toward electric vehicles, especially when oil prices do their best to encourage it. Alrighty guys, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and be on the lookout. I've got my weekly video coming out tomorrow with Tim from Oracle Investments. That'll be out tomorrow morning. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop me a comment below if you have any questions. This is Vinny from the Investment Club, and I'll see you next time.